On the new television screen, the host delivered the weather changes from January 15th to January 21st in an orderly and composed manner. I was seated on the sofa, and the mobile phone beside my right hand kept ringing incessantly. The beautiful hostess wore a warm and gentle smile on her face. She reminded the audience that a once-in-a-century blizzard was approaching and advised them to wear more clothes when going out and to stay indoors unless it was absolutely necessary. However, my heart felt icy cold, and an intense, bone-chilling cold continued to spread uncontrollably within my body. A series of mobile phone numbers that once symbolized family affection and were extremely familiar to me kept calling persistently, resembling a death summons from the depths of hell. In my previous life, without giving it much thought, I pressed the answer button. On the other end of the phone, there were my mother's continuous sobs and my father's curses. All the money in our home had been stolen, and our room had been ransacked by the thief. The quilt and other items were all cut to pieces. That scoundrel didn't even spare the kitchen. Everything was spilled on the floor, and the bottles and jars were shattered beyond repair. There wasn't a single place left in good condition. That damn thief stealing our things to live a good life. Bah! What a shameless person. Damn it. If I ever see him, I'll definitely go up and slap him. Lana, your sister-in-law said that you bought a house in the city some time ago and asked us to come and stay for a few days. The weather forecast said that there will be a blizzard in a few days. You are a sensible and filial child. You can't just stand by and watch your parents freeze to death at home. What my parents said was full of loopholes, but at that time, worried about the situation at home, I didn't notice it. I didn't even have the time to doubt how my sister-in-law knew that I had bought a house. The only people who knew about this were my close colleagues and the former landlord of the rented house. In the first year of my starting work, my parents always found various excuses to take away my salary, leaving me unable to cover my most basic monthly expenses. Once, my mother said that my father was ill and in the hospital, and asked me to transfer 3,000 yuan. I gave it to her immediately. The next day, the property management came to urge me to pay the water and electricity bills. I was still short of 30 yuan. My parents and my younger brother kept crying poverty to me, saying that they had no money. They scolded me for being unfilial, and even accused me of embezzling their pension. In the end, I had to borrow 30 yuan from a friend. The money I had given them, added up bit by bit, amounted to around 30,000 to 50,000 yuan. In the end, they even refused to give me 30 yuan. I also became more shrewd and started crying poverty to them. So after I bought the house, I deliberately kept it a secret from them, but they still found out. But after all, they are my parents, and my younger brother is my full-blooded sibling. If something really happened to them, I wouldn't turn a blind eye. I told them the address of my new home and invited my parents to move in. However, I overestimated my position in their hearts. Later, I was forced by my sister-in-law to go out and buy groceries. When I couldn't bear the cold and returned home to beg them to open the door, what greeted me was the cold iron door. And there was also the heartless laughter of the whole family. That good-for-nothing girl who can't bear a son. She really thought we had a thief in the house. Humph. She bought a house secretly behind our backs. They were scolding her, that thief. This house and all the money in it belong to Xiaolong. In the future, it will be left to our precious grandson. My sister-in-law smiled and agreed. Exactly. Fortunately, I was cautious before and asked the landlord to keep an eye on my sister's situation. Otherwise, we would have been completely deceived by her. I turned off the screen and powered off the phone in one smooth motion. I never want to have anything to do with this family for the rest of my life. I went to the bathroom and splashed some water on my face to sober myself up. Hanging on the bar counter was the latest light blue iPhone, which was the work phone issued by the company to all of us. I opened another WeChat account and checked the balance in the WeChat wallet. With 101,115.3 yuan in it, I went out for shopping with peace of mind. After working for 7 years, I have worked hard and won the favor of my superiors. I successfully got promoted and received a salary increase and took the position of deputy project supervisor. Every time a major project comes to an end, my superior will distribute large red envelopes in the supervisor group and the employee group. Sometimes he directly transfers money to the outstanding employees in the group to encourage everyone to contribute more to the company. Over the past few years, the projects I have been in charge of have been completed quickly and excellently. The 6-digit balance in my WeChat wallet is the affirmation of my work by the boss. Because of this, when the fat and corpulent landlord, who tried to sexually harass me after getting divorced from his wife, I firmly called the police and moved out of the apartment. Using the millions of yuan in salary and bonuses I had saved, I bought my first house in a community near the 3rd Ring Road, paying in full. The community is not located in a busy urban area. It's a bit remote, and there is only one supermarket around. There are few customers in the late evening, but it has all the necessary supplies, which is convenient for me to stock up on a large scale. I pushed the shopping cart towards the frozen food section. 10 bags of steaks, 10 bags of frozen dumplings, 8 bags of meat buns, 8 bags of vegetable buns, 5 bags of sweet dumplings and 5 bags of wontons. Next to the frozen food section was the meat cutting area. I bought 5 catties each of mutton, pork and beef, which I would freeze in the kitchen freezer later. I also picked more than a dozen large bags of fresh seasonal vegetables. With the cold weather, there was no need to worry about the vegetables not lasting long. The remaining space in the shopping cart was filled with instant noodles, 8 treasure porridge and mineral water. Experts on the news predicted that the blizzard would not last more than 20 days. I died on the 13th day. Due to my busy work, I was accustomed to stockpiling seasonings, as well as necessities like oil and rice that don't expire easily, in secret at home. With what I originally had at home, and what I bought in the shopping cart, it was more than sufficient to stay at home for 20 days. Finally, I found you. Our hometown was burglarized. Pack your things. We have to come and live in your new place. My younger brother called out to me from behind, his eyes filled with resentment. Recently, you didn't even answer our calls. We had a really hard time finding you. I had a shadow over the blizzard I had experienced, so I specifically went to the company and applied for my first annual leave from the boss, planning to stay at home until the weather warmed up. Unexpectedly, it was so coincidental that I met my younger brother, who was looking for me at the entrance of the community. I was truly astonished. My sister-in-law knew I had bought a house through the landlord, but I never revealed my address to that lecherous landlord. How did my younger brother know where I bought the house? Xiaolong, why are you here? My younger brother unceremoniously reached out and snatched the bag from my hand, took out a bottle of Coke and gulped it down. Sis, don't worry about this for now. Mom and Dad haven't slept well these days. Their old ailments are about to flare up. You should quickly transfer 10,000 yuan to them. We need to hire someone to clean up the house properly. Which building and floor is your house on? I'll send a message to Mom and Dad and tell them to come over. As a daughter, you should be filial to them. I had a look of utter dismay, feeling a sense of powerlessness like an expired adhesive plaster that stuck tightly to the skin, but couldn't be peeled off. My younger brother anxiously pushed me forward, urging me to take him there quickly. A man's strength is much greater than a woman's. He pushed me so hard that my back hurt a bit. The mobile phone in my younger brother's pocket rang. Perhaps he accidentally pressed the speakerphone. I also heard what my sister-in-law said on the other end. Husband, have you found her? Mom and Dad and I are coming too. If your sister doesn't agree, we'll deal with her the way we dealt with her colleague. Humph, what an unfilial daughter. She has money but hides it. This is clearly our family's house, yet she shamelessly bought an asset alone. I switched jobs to my current company in the second year. The benefits are very good. After months of crying poverty, Mom was worried that I couldn't make ends meet, and asked me the name and address of my company. She came to bring me eggs. That time my boss happened to see her. He privately asked me about my family situation, and I told him the truth. My boss started from scratch in his business, and his family situation was similar to mine. He took the initiative to suggest that my monthly salary could be divided into 2 parts and transferred to different bank cards. Such a considerate boss and company, I thought I would never come across another one. What my sister-in-law and the others did today was no different from ruining my life. A colleague called me on WeChat, sounding very anxious. Xiaolai, your family members came to the company and made a scene. They were rolling around on the ground, scolding you for being unfilial. The boss was very angry and reported the address of your community, asking them to go find you quickly. But the boss isn't angry with you. He said he can reserve a spot for you to go to the branch company in Citya next month. You are such an excellent employee and shouldn't be dragged down by your original family. I tried my best to hold back the bitterness in my heart and sincerely thanked my colleague. After hanging up the phone, my whole chest was ablaze with anger. I knew all too well the tricks of these people who were acting like hooligans. In my previous life, they caused my death, and in this life, they almost ruined my job. I really had the worst luck in 8 lifetimes to meet this family. Just because I didn't follow the steps they expected, they resorted to one woolar trick after another. My younger brother seemed not to know that he had turned on the speakerphone and kept agreeing. My sister-in-law was spouting off. Sis and I will be home soon. You guys come directly and move in. Then see if there's anything we need to buy, and make a list for sis. After all, this will be our future home, and everything we need should be there. Their covetousness for my house was obvious. I gave my younger brother a disdainful look. The house is mine, and I haven't agreed to let you guys live in. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the conversation. My sister-in-law handed the phone to my dad. You damned woman. The daughter you gave birth to is so unfilial. Damn it, I really want to give you a good beating today. I might as well have had a child with another woman back then. Dad's words were extremely vulgar. The loud slapping sound could still be clearly heard through the phone screen. I looked up at my younger brother, and he was gloating. It was as if Mom deserved to be beaten. I paused and asked Mom, does Dad often beat you? Domestic violence is illegal. Do you want me to call the police for you? Mom's moans came one after another. She was the only one in the family who would think of me. Although she was weak and timid, she really loved me. Don't call the police. Just do as your father says. Can't your parents stay in the new house their daughter bought for a few days? I was left speechless by Mom's words. Since they were determined to occupy my house, then I would play with them properly. You guys can come and stay for a few days, but I bought a second-hand house. I came to sign the contract today, and we can't move in until 3 days later. My sister-in-law's shrewd voice came through. Sis, the 5 of us are all in the city, and have no money to stay in a hotel. You have to transfer 30,000 or 50,000 yuan to Xiaolong. Since you can afford to buy a house, you surely don't lack this little money. Transfer 2,670.3 yuan. Balance 1,000 yuan. Xiaolong was still not satisfied when he saw the record on my bank card. Why are you still keeping 1,000 yuan for yourself? Don't you get paid on the 18th? Just keep 200 yuan. I suddenly felt a chill. My younger brother even knew when I got paid. In this family, it seemed I had no secrets. There were many things I only told Mom. But in the end, everyone knew. Did Mom really love me? The weather was gloomy, a precursor to the approaching blizzard. I quickly ran to the property management office and asked. The property rented a second-hand house on the 4th floor of the same building. The number 404 had an unlucky connotation, and the community was also in a remote place, so it had been unrented. Coincidentally, it gave me convenience. Since it was a house prepared for my own family, I naturally had to arrange it well. I placed an order online, and the master came to install surveillance cameras. There was one in each room, and I used some unobtrusive small items to cover them. In 404, I prepared food for about 10 days. I knew my younger brother and sister-in-law well. As long as it wasn't their own money, they had no idea of restraint. Once, although I had clearly stockpiled enough food for half a month, because of their extravagance, the food supplies were almost gone on the 10th day. In the following days, my 5-year-old nephew drank porridge, my younger brother and dad ate meat, my sister-in-law and mom drank soup, and I only got to drink water. Now that there was even less food stocked up, I really wanted to see how they were going to get through the next 20 days. My little nephew rushed in with his bulging Ultraman backpack, almost hitting me who was opening the door. My sister-in-law gave me a resentful look. Sis, you don't even know how to give way to my son. What if you hit him? You can't afford to compensate. Mom, ask Auntie to buy a big Ultraman and put it on our balcony. Then when the kids outside see it, they will definitely envy me. My little nephew put his hands behind his back and inspected the house I rented like a little adult. My younger brother and the others didn't bring much when they came. They put down 2 jute bags and excitedly went to look at the rooms. Sis, why did you lock the master bedroom? Open it quickly. My wife and I are going to live in it. I followed them slowly and said, the master bedroom is where I sleep. I'm not used to letting others use it. The 3 of you can stay in the guest room with Mom and Dad. My sister-in-law, who had planned to occupy the master bedroom before coming, was unhappy when she heard my words and started throwing a tantrum. What you said is really unpleasant. Your younger brother is the only male in the family. Everything must be considered for him first. In the future, you will rely on your younger brother to be the head of the family. Of course, the master bedroom is for us to sleep in. No wonder you're over 30 and still not married. You don't know the importance of a man at all. Her words were extremely shocking. I followed my sister-in-law's words. The mortgage on the house hasn't been paid off yet. Since my younger brother is the head of the family, why doesn't he pay it? Anyway, you all say the house is his. He should always bear the subsequent mortgage. Trying to get money from this family is like snatching food from the tiger's mouth. Dad came over and snorted. It's only natural for a sister to help her younger brother buy a house. You take care of the mortgage. Open the master bedroom quickly. Lana, you sleep on the sofa. Your mom and I will be in one room. Xiaolong and his wife in one room. And my precious grandson in a separate room. When my little nephew heard that he might have to sleep alone, he started crying and rolling on the ground helplessly. I don't want to sleep alone. I'm scared woo-woo. I don't care. Either grandma sleeps with me or mom sleeps with me. Mom picked up my little nephew with a Shintung expression and kept promising to sleep with him. My sister-in-law spoke up in a timely manner. You can see that our little Bao can't sleep alone. At his age, he should have a playroom. She pointed one by one, arranging the 3 rooms clearly, without any consideration for me. Seeing that I didn't move for a long time, Dad reached out and pinched Mom's arm, making her cry out in pain. My younger brother and sister-in-law had the same gloating expressions. They knew that every time Mom cried out, it would make me give in. Come on, quickly listen to your sister-in-law and do as she says. Mom is in so much pain. I opened the door, closed it and locked it in one go. Because I moved so quickly, my hands were still shaking. Clearly, you could have resisted. Why do you always use the means of torturing yourself to force me? The master bedroom had an ensuite bathroom, and I also stockpiled water and food. It was almost mealtime, and I didn't want to eat at the same table with this family. I plugged in the small electric cooker, poured water and boiled it. Then I threw in a pack of instant noodles, and added a sausage. The fragrance filled the air. The sound of beating outside was getting louder and louder, and Mom's moans were also getting more and more intense. However, you've been a filial child since you were young. How can you let Mom be beaten? Mom is in so much pain from being beaten by Dad. Come out quickly, and give the room to your younger brother. However, the name they originally gave me was Aaron V, meaning to have a son for them. The grass radical was added after I became an adult. Although I didn't like this character, my parents refused to let me change it, thinking that removing it was equivalent to killing my younger brother. The mobile phone screen showed the surveillance footage outside the door. Dad was slapping Mom's head hard and pinching her inner thigh again and again. My little nephew thought it was fun and insisted on joining in. He treated Mom like a horse and happily rode on her, shouting, "Ride the horse, go go go," while shaking. Mom endured the pain and still had to care whether my little nephew would accidentally fall, holding him tightly for fear that he would fall. I lowered my eyelids. Mom's attitude further deepened my disappointment in her. The scene was so disgusting that I lost my appetite after a few mouthfuls of instant noodles. You guys can live in, but I need to move my things out. I silently thought to myself that this was the last time I would be soft-hearted towards Mom. When I looked up, I saw Mom's resentful gaze. "However, I'm very disappointed in you. Mom is being bullied, and you can actually stay inside for so long. You've really changed. How cruel you are." I stared at her blankly. I, who don't want to be the executioner who tortures you, end up helping the executioner create another victim. Mom, originally you were the only warmth I had in this family. In the end, you are willingly cooperating with them and being an accomplice in trampling on your daughter. From this moment on, I truly and completely let go of my mother and this laughable blood tie affection. My sister-in-law bustled into the master bedroom. Her first act was to rummage through my wardrobe and dressing table. Regrettably, her desires were to be dashed. As I didn't want to let my sister-in-law get any bargains in the rented house, I had only placed one thick down jacket and had bought no cosmetics or skincare products. Having found nothing, my sister-in-law stormed up to me in a fit of pique to argue. "Have you hidden all the good stuff, making our family use nothing?" My sister-in-law was most adept at inciting family disputes to achieve her goals. She deliberately pulled my younger brother over and, facing my parents, feigned grievance. "Husband, doesn't your sister dislike us? Now that we're going to live here, she specifically hid all the valuable things. When she was renting a place before, her dormitory wasn't this empty." Immediately, the whole family launched into another tirade against me. Dad frowned and looked at me. "One shouldn't be so selfish. Your sister-in-law isn't much older than you. It's only natural for you two to share some things." Using the tactics of a sweet-talking innocent against a scheming person, I retorted to my sister-in-law with equally sugary words. "How dare I hide good things? As you all know, my salary isn't much. After buying this house with a loan, I'm broke. I had no choice but to sell my clothes on a second-hand platform. Otherwise, will you and my younger brother pay off my mortgage?" This time, it was my sister-in-law's turn to be left speechless, unable to utter a word for a long while. The thudding sound of meat being chopped came from the kitchen. Mom called me to go and help as she always did. She never called my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law was lounging lazily on the sofa, choosing a favorite cartoon for my little nephew. Survival was my mom's concern. I used to feel sorry for Mom and would help her with the work. But this time, I didn't go. Mom didn't hear my approaching footsteps. After calling twice and thinking I didn't hear, she came up to me and tried to pull me over. I freed my hand from hers and continued to use the laptop to edit the application for the project department of the branch company in City A and the relevant project plans. This was a satisfactory answer I had to submit to the boss. "But why are you still angry with Mom? A woman should be more magnanimous so that she can find a good family to marry into. Mom asking you to go to the kitchen is to train you so that you can handle the work in your husband's family with ease and not be looked down upon." Without the previous pity for my mother in my heart, I realized for the first time how futile my own mother was. "Mom, what about my sister-in-law? Since she married into our family, she has never done a day's work. All the housework like washing and cooking is done by you. You don't dare to order her around and only know to ask me. You can't say that. Your sister-in-law is busy taking care of the child. It's normal that she has no time." Mom glared at me. "She only dares to order me around. You are Mom's daughter. Isn't it only natural for you to share some of the burden for us?" And the protagonist of the topic, my sister-in-law, skillfully set up the cartoon for her son, then swayed her hips and walked to the balcony, looking down at the beautiful scenery of the community from above. Her shrewd eyes seemed to be assessing the value of this building. I refused very straightforwardly. "Mom, I've eaten, and I'm working right now. Mom, if you transfer 5,000 yuan to me to pay off 1 month's mortgage, then you can take a rest. I'll take care of everything in the kitchen today." This family has one thing in common. It's absolutely impossible to get money from their pockets. Mom hesitated, but then said, "How can Mom earn money? Can't you be more understanding of Mom?" When it came to money, my dad, for once, stood on my side. Lying on the sofa like a lord, he used his stinky feet to shoo Mom away. "Scram, don't get in the way here. Come on, Lana, focus on your work. Later, transfer the house to your younger brother. A boy needs a house to support himself." I ignored him and threw myself wholeheartedly into the business of typing on the keyboard. The dinner was sumptuous. Mom specifically chose the most expensive kinds of meat and cooked a full table of 6 meat dishes, 3 vegetable dishes, and 1 soup. There were 5 bowls and 5 pairs of chopsticks. Mom passed by me and snorted, silently accusing me of being heartless. Then she enthusiastically went to carry her precious grandson to eat, muttering, "My precious grandson is so good. Unlike some people who become disobedient as soon as they grow up." My little nephew didn't want to eat yet. He was engrossed in the cartoon, crying and wriggling to break free from my mom. With the stubbornness of an adult, he walked away, saying, "Bad old witch. Xiaobao wants to watch cartoons." A 5-year-old child had quite a bit of strength. He pinched my mom, who cried out in pain. My mom's face contorted with pain, yet she still called him a good boy. I coldly watched the so-called family harmony in front of me. Unlike before, I didn't shout to stop them. My mom looked at me pitifully, hoping I would speak up to stop them. How many times in the past, when my dad scolded her, my little nephew kicked her, and my younger brother and sister-in-law remained indifferent, as long as I rushed forward to educate them and stop them from hurting mom. Every time, mom would excuse the suffering she endured, saying that the men in the family were the breadwinners, and it was normal for them to have a bad temper, and that the little boy was at a young and innocent age. I averted my eyes from my mother's pleading gaze, and pondered how to perfect the initial draft of my work. The blizzard arrived as scheduled, just like in my previous life. Knowing the nature of this family, I had specifically replaced the finely decorated sofa with a retractable and foldable sofa bed as a precaution. When I took out a 15-centimeter, thick-down quilt from the bottom of the sofa, my sister-in-law had a look of shock on her face, and her complexion was extremely ugly. The sound of the cartoon in the living room was very loud. My little nephew laughed gleefully when he saw the minced meat. The rice grains at the corner of his mouth were shaken onto the ground, mixing with the fallen meat particles, like a messy small garbage dump. My mom called my name in a low voice, and pointed to the area beside my little nephew's feet, expecting me to stand up consciously and clean it. I pretended not to hear and scrolled through my phone, paying attention to the latest developments of the blizzard. Without my help, my mom stole several glances at my sister-in-law. In her heart, she was still a bit intimidated. She didn't dare to call her. Finally, she resigned herself to coming over with a rag to clean up. The cold wind outside the window tenaciously searched for tiny gaps through the sealed glass, and entered the balcony. My sister-in-law shivered with cold, and immediately turned on the air conditioners in all the rooms. She also didn't forget to remind me to pay the electricity bill. I smiled with a curl of my lips. I'll pay according to the normal electricity consumption of a family. But as long as others can pay, my younger brother and sister-in-law will definitely be as extravagant as possible. Whether there will still be electricity in the rooms in the last few days, I don't know. The amount of food for dinner doesn't need to be so much, and the air conditioner doesn't need to be turned on so early, let alone in every room. The blizzard outside is still in its initial stage. Wearing thick clothes and sleeping under thick quilts can solve the problem. Yet they chose the most wasteful way. After washing up, I walked to the weak current box and quietly unplugged the optical modem device for the broadband, adjusting the angle so that it wasn't obvious that the plug had left the socket. The TV screen immediately turned blue. My little nephew cried non-stop. He usually watched TV until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Now it was only 10 o'clock, and he wasn't sleepy yet. My younger brother frowned, annoyed by my little nephew, and took the remote control irritably to study. He changed the blue screen to a black and white flickering screen. Damn it, what kind of shitty TV is this? Sis, come and fix it. He threw the remote control at my stomach. Fortunately, I was used to dodging from childhood. I dodged very quickly. It seems you'll never get rid of this bad habit. I pressed the red button, and the TV screen went black. It was time to turn off the TV and go to sleep. What cartoons are you watching? The food reserves for 10 days were almost eaten up by this family in 6 days. Apparently, they still hadn't realized the seriousness of the situation. In these 6 days, the meals cooked by mom were very sumptuous, and there was always a lot of leftover food in the trash can. When I walked over and wanted to sit down and eat some, she would always push me aside and shout loudly. A daughter who doesn't help doesn't get to eat. She also wouldn't let me cook in the kitchen myself. Whenever I wanted to simply cook something for myself, she would come over with a broom and a rag to stop me from doing it. Fortunately, this time I had sufficient preventive awareness and reserved multiple retreats for myself. At the top of the shoe cabinet, I had hidden several boxes of self-heating hot pot and self-heating rice. I had eaten quite well these 6 days with these. Today it was time to buy groceries at home. My sister-in-law, for once, called me affectionately, Big Sister, and then stated her purpose. She selected the dishes on the food delivery app, and then forwarded the payment on behalf link to me, asking me to pay. I didn't dampen her spirits and readily agreed, because I knew that now all the stores outside were closed. Even if she wanted to buy, there was no place to buy. The food delivery app showed that all the stores were on break. My sister-in-law cursed angrily and reluctantly announced that everyone needed to save food. Then she took away 5 boxes of my self-heating hot pot, leaving me only 1 box of self-heating rice. I calculated that the time was almost right, the time when they would ask me to go out and buy groceries. Sure enough, my sister-in-law set her sights on the surrounding neighbors. When she opened the door, a piercing cold air rushed in. Even though the air conditioner was on indoors, everyone still shivered from the cold wind. My sister-in-law closed the door shivering. Just like in my previous life, she turned her attention to me, thinking of sending me out to find food. She winked at the 3 people sitting at the dinner table, and walked over to whisper a conspiracy. My little nephew was still watching the cartoon with gusto. If it wasn't my sleeping time, I would have plugged in the optical modem. Let them use as much electricity as they want. I'm looking forward to the day when it runs out. Taking advantage of the fact that their attention wasn't on me, I put on a warm-down jacket, put on warm gloves, took out a hand warmer from the drawer and stuck it on, and then kept shouting. It was so cold just now when the door was opened. Going out will definitely freeze to death. 2 big men walked up to me with an oppressive air, and ordered me to go out and buy groceries, or knock on the neighbors' doors to beg for some food. In short, I had to find ways to get food and not let them starve. I looked at them in disbelief, pointing to the freezing and snowy weather outside. Going out in this weather will kill someone. I'm not going out. Let's save food. Isn't it better to listen to Shuling? In my previous life, I helped my mom in the kitchen and cleaned up. I was the docile daughter in their eyes who was easy to deceive. The whole family put on a show of being in poor health in front of me, with tear-stained faces. Vikingser stood on the moral high ground of filial piety to pressure me, making me, the only healthy one in the family, willingly go out. But this time, they knew I wouldn't fall for it anymore, and dared to use tough measures. They literally dragged me out of the door, and, just like in my previous life, locked the door neatly. I was too lazy to act anymore. I wrapped my clothes tightly around my neck, took the elevator to my new home, turned on the central air conditioner, took off my thick clothes, and started cutting vegetables and stir-frying meat, comfortably enjoying my big meal. Half of the time when the blizzard swept through the city had passed. I was sitting on a high-backed chair, leisurely looking at the horizontally held phone screen, freely cutting the freshly fried steak with a knife and fork. When I saw the surveillance footage on my phone, I laughed. The optical modem plug had been pulled out. My little nephew hadn't watched cartoons for several days. His tyrannical temper flared up. He threw the only bowl of vegetables cooked by my mom onto the ground, and stood up to kick over the chopsticks and bowls of the 5 people. My younger brother was so angry that he wanted to spank my nephew's bottom. The 2 elders who doted on their grandson desperately stopped my younger brother from hitting him. The 3 parties were deadlocked with each other. My sister-in-law was even more ridiculous. After drinking tap water for 2 days, originally, there was no food for her on the table. But after all, it was her own son who caused such a commotion. Taking advantage of the chaos, she crawled on the ground and picked up vegetable leaves and rice to eat. When my mom discovered that my sister-in-law was stealing food, most of the food on the ground was already gone. This time, the 3 of them acted in unison. They went up and punched and kicked my sister-in-law, scolding her for seizing their food during the chaos. Apparently my sister-in-law transferred her hatred to my mom. Her long nails scratched my mom's face and shoulders haphazardly. She cursed like a shrew. "You damned bitch. Why do you get to have soup while I can only drink cold boiled water? We're both women. Why are you so high and mighty?" My mom tightly grabbed my sister-in-law's hair. The temper of a mother-in-law who had endured for 6 years finally erupted. "You unfilial wretch. I cook, I wash the dishes and I clean. What right do you have to eat?" Finally my dad, who was hungry, slapped my mom and told her to cook something new, putting an end to their farce. As for the food that had fallen on the ground, my sister-in-law grabbed it all and ate it clean. On the table, there was freshly cooked half a bowl of beef stir, fried with shredded potatoes, and 1 sweet potato. Because my little nephew wasted food, my younger brother punished him by making him eat the shredded potatoes. My younger brother and dad ate the beef, and the sweet potato was divided into 3 pieces. The remaining soup base of the beef stir, fried with shredded potatoes, which the men in the family had eaten, was left for my mom. My sister-in-law quietly slipped into the master bedroom and hid in the toilet to call 110. Unexpectedly, in such a harsh weather condition, there was still a police officer who answered the phone. My sister-in-law cried with a runny nose and teary eyes, emotionally recounting the grievances she had suffered in recent days. Finally, she made a request, hoping that the police would bring her some food when they came. The police officer said, "I'm very sorry. The ground is too slippery. We tried to drive the police car out, but we couldn't even get out of the gate before crashing into something." In order to respond to the call, 3 of my colleagues on duty at the police station have sacrificed their lives, and 5 are injured. There are no able-bodied people left at the police station. I'm also sitting in a wheelchair while talking to you on the phone. My sister-in-law rolled her eyes speechlessly, but her voice was still coquettish. "But aren't you supposed to serve the people? I'm almost being tormented to death by my family. The police can't just stand by and watch me die." The police officer registered the address reported by my sister-in-law and promised her that they would call back for a follow-up after the blizzard. If necessary, they would definitely send someone to her home as soon as possible to investigate the situation in her family. It was this phone call that enabled my sister-in-law, who was not good at surfing the internet, to obtain the news that the blizzard would last at least another 6 days. She leaned against the white tiles of the toilet, her face ashen. "How can I endure 6 more days?" In the middle of the night my sister-in-law sneaked into the kitchen and started checking how much food was left at home. Relying on these provisions, it was absolutely impossible for 4 people to survive for 6 days. She simply calculated that the food here was barely enough for 1 person to eat to their full every meal. An evil thought formed in my sister-in-law's mind. "Oh no, the door has been opened. Xiaobao is missing. Mom and Dad, Xiaobao might have gone out. What should we do?" Woo-woo. My sister-in-law entered my parents' room and cried non-stop. My awakened parents, upon hearing the news that Xiaobao was missing, immediately rushed out of the quilt in a panic, put on thick clothes, and ran out of the door without any sense, regardless of how cold it was outside, for fear that something might happen to their precious grandson. The moment my parents ran out of the door, my sister-in-law, with quick eyes and hands, quickly closed the door, locked it, and hung the security chain, using the way she had once dealt with me to deal with my parents. My little nephew came out of the playroom sleepily and asked my sister-in-law innocently, "Grandpa and Grandma can't find me. Am I the best at playing hide and seek? My sister-in-law picked up her son and kissed him on the face. So good. Today's game is over. Mom will play with you again tomorrow. My younger brother was a lazy bum without a job and had an excellent sleep quality. Under normal circumstances, he slept from 10 p.m. to 9 a.m. without fail. He couldn't be woken up no matter how much noise there was. In the morning, he habitually waited for my mom to bring him a small bonbon of breakfast. After waiting for a long time and not seeing anyone, he went to the room to look, but didn't find her either. My sister-in-law pretended to recall in horror. I seemed to hear the sound of the door opening and closing outside yesterday. It was really scary. Do you think Mom and Dad might have sleepwalked out? My younger brother looked out through the peephole on the door and didn't notice anything unusual. He cursed irritably and ordered my sister-in-law to cook him breakfast. My sister-in-law happily went to do it. She divided the food into 3 small bowls according to the portion for 3 people for 6 days. Looking at the barely edible congee, my younger brother thought the distribution was unfair. He took the rice from the other 2 bowls and gave it to my sister-in-law, and a bowl of soup to his son, leaving only a few grains of rice and a small bonbon of soup for himself. My sister-in-law somewhat regretted not getting rid of her husband all at once yesterday. His current treatment was only a little better than drinking plain water. Torn between having a man and having enough to eat, she finally gritted her teeth and chose the man. After all, he wasn't as obedient as her mother-in-law and wouldn't steal food in the kitchen. When I opened the surveillance again, I didn't see the figures of my parents. This was the case for 2 consecutive days. I had a vague suspicion, which was confirmed after continuously checking the surveillance. So cruel. I no longer had the desire to continue watching the surveillance. In the room with the central air conditioner on, I indulged in enjoying life, cooking 3 meals, and watching funny comedy movies. The blizzard stopped, and the sun shone on the city again. After the snow on the ground became thinner and less, the police car with its siren blaring drove to the downstairs of the community. As soon as they entered the corridor, they saw 2 frozen to death elderly people. My sister-in-law opened the door and was stunned when she saw the police. Reminded by the police, she remembered that she had once called 110 for help. Hello, ma'am. We couldn't get through to your mobile phone. Out of safety concerns, we specifically came to check. By the way, where are the in-laws you mentioned? My sister-in-law couldn't give a proper answer. The police immediately sensed something was wrong and determined that the 2 frozen to death people downstairs were my sister-in-law's in-laws. This was a premeditated murder case. 2 adults and 1 child were taken away by the police car to be tried by law. My sister-in-law was caught so quickly ultimately because of their greed. If my sister-in-law had received the call from the police, she wouldn't have been caught so soon. Who made them waste so much electricity that they couldn't even charge their mobile phones in the last few days? I entrusted a real estate agent to sell the newly bought house and returned the rented 404 to the property management. After arranging all these, I submitted a job transfer application and went to the unfamiliar city A. My sister-in-law was convicted of aggravated intentional injury and sentenced to fixed-term imprisonment. My younger brother, lacking self-care ability and not knowing how to take care of a child, called me several times, hoping that I would go and take care of them, father and son. I simply changed my mobile phone number and started afresh completely. From then on, what awaited me was a bright future. The end.